Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Good morning. As chair of the Exeter Advisory Committee, I'm declaring that an emergency exists and I am invoking the provisions of RSA 91A to 3B. Federal, state, and local officials have determined that gatherings of 10 or more, does that need to be updated? Pose a substantial risk to our community in its continuing efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19. In concurring with their determination, I also find that this meeting is imperative to the continued operation of town government and services, which are vital to public safety and confidence during this emergency. As such, this meeting will be conducted without a quorum of this body physically present in the same location. At this time, I will also welcome members of the public accessing this meeting remotely, even though this meeting is being conducted in a unique manner. Under unusual circumstances, the usual rules of conduct and decorum apply. I'm going to start the meeting by taking a roll call of attendance, and I'll ask each member as I call on you to state your name and whether or not there's anyone in the room with you. Mr. Sharples, our town planner.
Yes, Dave Sharples, and I am in the office alone.
Thank you. Lindsay Sonnet.
Lindsay Sonnet, and I am alone at the moment.
Thank you. Mr. Cameron, Pete Cameron.
I'm here all by myself in my office.
Thank you. Select Board Representative Lovey Roundtree Olaf. Lovey, are you muted?
I think she's trying to connect. Do you guys see that?
Okay, I thought I had her connected. Okay, I'll go back to her. So we also have two guests with us. Robert, I'm doing it again, Robert.
It's Robert Prine from the Rockingham Planning Commission, and I'm here alone.
Thank you. And Sarah Reitzman.
I'm here and I'm all alone.
Thank you. And is Lovey connected? Oh, she's still trying. Okay, so I can see the connecting thing dancing around there. Okay. So while Lovey is trying to connect, I'm going to set this aside. The first order of business I would like to do is our meeting minutes. I apologize. Last week we were talking about so many things and I completely skipped over our meeting minutes. So we now have two of them to look at. So the first one is going to be Friday, May 8th. Has everyone had a chance to look at the draft meeting minutes? And if there's any questions, comments, things that, proposed amendments, just raise your hand. And Lovey is with us. So I'm going to just pause for a moment on the minutes. And Lovey, if you'd like to introduce yourself and let us know if you're alone in the room.
I will probably not be alone in the room. I have my kids with me. So it's Lovey Olaf Select Board.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll go back to the draft meeting minutes of May 8th. I'm not seeing any hands raised. Does anyone have any comments or amendments to this draft meeting minutes from May 8th, 2020? Okay, I'm going to take that as they're fine as is. And then we'll go to the Friday, June 12th, 2020 meeting minutes. Any comments, amendments? And for people who understand, our committee is more of a work committee, so we don't literally kind of take official votes. So if anyone's wondering about that. No comments on the June 12th meeting minutes either. Great, we're gonna move on. Okay, let me find my agenda. So, Mr. Sharples, I am going to start with you, and I apologize for some reason I do not have my agenda in front of me. But we're going to start with you because you have an announcement.
Okay, so you, hold on. So you want to do E on your agenda first?
Thank you, because I cannot.
Okay.
Yes, I found it now. We're going to jump to E, yes.
Okay.
I was looking for a quick cover for my not finding the agenda quickly, but yes, let's do you first.
So word may have gotten out, but we had nominated the Exeter Housing Future Project and the MUN, the Mixed Use Neighborhood Development Ordinance, you folks were intimately involved with, to Project of the Year through the New Hampshire Planners Association. And we, I don't know if you can see that, but
We can, yay.
we were 2020 New Hampshire Planners Association Project of the Year, presented to Exeter Housing Future and the Exeter Housing Advisory Committee. So congratulations on that. I thought it was definitely worthy of a submittal. I thought it was a great project. I think the ordinance kind of does things that, very unique to advance affordable housing. And now just the next step is get a project underneath it. So congratulations to all of you, the planning board, everyone that helped out the public forums. Appreciate your assistance. And that's good. I was happy to see that we got the award.
Well, thank you to you too. You did a lot of work. Does anyone want to comment about this award? Just raise your hand. We have a quiet bunch this morning. Okay. We have no public attendees, so I'm just going to skip over public comment. And we did B already. Excuse me. Our multi-unit map.
Pete has his real hand up.
Real hand. I think it also needs to be mentioned that that was involved with the oversight committee, David.
Sorry, I did have an acceptance speech that I did a video of and sent to the New Hampshire Planners Association that was played during their virtual conference. And it did include the master plan oversight committee. So I did recognize you. Sorry, I missed that.
Well, that wasn't meant to do anything other than just to add that was another group that had participated in the preparation.
Yep, absolutely.
David, is there a way we can get a copy of that video to listen if we want?
Sure. Yeah, I can. I'll send that to you because I had to do it. So I sent it to them. So I have it somewhere on my computer. I'll send it out.
That would be great. Thank you so much. And Pete, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so we're on to C, the multi-unit map. So our last meeting, we talked about being on the agenda for the select board for Monday the 13th. And their agenda is really full. So I've received a commitment to be on for July 27th instead. In thinking about this, and I thought this was my idea, but it really wasn't. It was from watching the select board meeting and a presentation done by our wonderful chief of police and our assistant chief. To try to do these presentations, obviously everyone's aware with Zoom and things, we're under an unusual way of doing things. So my proposal is that we do something similar to what our police department did for their presentation. We already have a PowerPoint presentation, and we have the map that Robert did through Rockingham Planning Commission. Mr. Glowacki is going to weigh in. I asked him to weigh in on this as Exeter TV because he can explain to us the logistics of our options. So unless anyone has any questions and are fine waiting for Bob to explain this to us, I'd like Bob to explain it and then we can have a conversation. I have to look for Pete and his rate. Nope, we're all set. So Bob, could you explain our options on how we could possibly go about putting our presentation together for the select board?
Sure, yeah. I think the easiest thing to do for the select board is to, I think you guys have a PowerPoint presentation or we're working on something similar. So if you guys just sent me that PowerPoint and then maybe if the commission wants to record a voiceover. That's what the police department did for their PowerPoint presentation. So, you can, if you guys have smartphones, you can use like a voice memo app. You don't need a fancy microphone or anything like that. And we can just go through, the narration you want to do for the slides, if you will. If you want different committee members, they can record different parts and send that to me, and then the PowerPoint, and I can put it into a video. And that way, when we are at the select board meeting, all we would have to do is just share our screens and share the video, hit play, and just let it roll. And then you can do, questions after on there. Another option is we could record, we could do it live and just have one person present the PowerPoint presentation, and they would share screens. They can click through it as they want, but then they have to read it live during the select board meeting. So, that's another option. Or if you guys wanted to not worry about, sending me the PowerPoint and doing different people doing different voice recordings, we could do a Zoom meeting just like this, but just for the purpose of recording it. And, one person could share screens, and then different people could talk about it. And then same thing, we'd have a video that we can share at the select board.
Thank you so much. So I have 2 hands up. So Bob, don't go anywhere, because some of these questions will probably be for you. So John, I believe you had your hand up first. So I'm going to ask you to speak.
So whereas the PowerPoint presentation would be coherent and it would make sense and we could click through the pictures, the other thing that's really interesting is the interactive map that Bob has worked so hard on. So Bob Glowacki, how are you familiar with that interactive map that's available online? I'd love to demonstrate that too.
Yeah, I haven't. I think maybe I saw that maybe at your last meeting, like some sneak previews that were maybe in the PowerPoint from that. But the other thing with that is if you guys know what you want to do with that, we can use Zoom to record some of that and put that into the video. If you still want to, if you don't want to have to be fumbling with that live at the select board meeting, we could record some of that with Zoom basically. So if someone wanted to show me, I could just set up a Zoom call, and then that person could walk through what you can do with the virtual map and be sharing screens. And then, you get their voice talking about it, plus you'd see what they're doing on their screen. And then I can just insert that into the video. Maybe if it was like slide 4 or something, we would just, cut the PowerPoint, insert that little demonstration video, and then you still have one thing like that.
I like that idea, because we would can the presentation, and we wouldn't be fumbling and tongue-tied, and we could rehearse it, and it would be effective, and it just show an example of how it works. I love that idea.
Yeah. And the other thing I think I threw out to Nancy, and I was throwing this out to lots of different boards and stuff that are normally, maybe you guys would have like a public input session or something like in person, where you'd let the public come and talk about the project, and we can do that through the same platform of Zoom webinar. So we could, if you guys were interested, do like an actual live webinar where you could go through that PowerPoint, and then you bring up the website, and people can interact and ask questions during that. So if that's something you're interested as well, beyond like the select board meeting, we can do that. But I think for the select board, if you want to be concise and stuff, if we can make a video ahead of time, it's probably the cleanest way to make sure you don't waste time, or you get everything you want to say in there.
Thank you. Lovey Roundtree Olive has her hand up.
Hi, just wanted to echo what Bob is saying, is just figure out the time frame so that it's not too long. Because a lot of the meetings that we're having for the select board online can go a little lengthy, and I think you want to maximize the time and just highlight the most important features in a pre-recorded. So I highly suggest that you go with the pre-recorded, because we've had a couple of issues with live presentations that require, I think, too much time just working out the tweaks of it. And I think you'll just maximize listenership from both the board members and staff. And I also agree that having a more in-depth presentation that's interactive with the public makes a lot of sense. So you can delve a little deeper into the work that you guys have done.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so, and this was to follow up with what our select board representative just stated. This was in part of my thinking process of trying to do this in the most succinct manner that we could do. And I'm really liking this idea. Anyone else have any thoughts? Sarah, did you have your hand up? Where's Sarah? Okay.
I did have it up. I was just going to echo. I was going to say exactly what Bob said about doing the screen capture with the map, because the PowerPoint's cool, but it's not on its own. It's nothing, and the map is really it. So either doing a screen capture or doing a Zoom thing where we can actually go through the interactive map, I think will be a lot more powerful than doing the PowerPoint.
And then using both, and if we decide to go up to the select board presentation, can't catch my breath this morning. It's okay, and so I think that's great. It would limit our time, but at least get the general idea out there. Okay.
And then it was another logistical question. Is this for next Monday? This meeting?
So the 13th, no, the 27th.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so we'd have time. It doesn't take me too much time to pull this together, but as long as you get it to me by the week before or something like that, I can more than likely pull this together really quick. It's more on you guys to kind of come up with an outline of what you want the video to look like and what your major talking points are. And then, what the PD, for example, did is, they had a kind of script and they said, slide 1, this is what's I want in the background when slide 1 is up there. And
right. And so that part of it would actually be more into if we did the webinar, if we do this live webinar. The first part of this, I'm thinking would be very limited. And so now I'm on to Robert, because Robert, I need you to weigh in on this. You, as Rockingham Planning Commission, kind of own this other part of the map. So do you have any thoughts about this?
No, I mean, I think you guys are going up the right alleyway to pre-record it so that you can show it and have sort of a purpose in mind as you proceed through. Because if you don't, it's gonna feel disjointed and awkward.
Okay. How willing are you to walk through the interactive map for the presentation?
I mean, I'm certainly willing to do it. It might be more applicable to have someone from the board do it, only because you're going to have more input to the inside of the map. I mean, the function of click here and it goes to the next thing is rather technical, and I don't think anyone cares about that. It's straightforward enough that I think anyone could drive it.
Okay. I wanted you to have first option on this since you were so instrumental in pulling that together. So yeah, no, I'm not a public output person for you. So have someone with a good smile. Okay. Thank you. So my next person my next go-to person is Mr. Sharples. What are your thoughts about this, our town planner?
I didn't hear anything I disagreed with. I thought it's a good approach. I think, videoing in advance is good. Bob can edit it and we can, kind of condense it, keep it short. I mean, what are we thinking as far as a timeline? Is it 10 minutes?
Honestly, my thought process had not gotten that far. I want to keep it as short and informational as possible, finding that balance. Yeah. This really is, in my mind, a quick introduction to say this is what we've done, this is where we're at, and we're going to get more in depth, say at a live webinar in the future.
Yeah, if I could jump into, with people's attention spans and like Lovey said, with the long select board meetings, sometimes the previous video that I was mentioning before was like 13 minutes long that they did. That's probably a little too long for a single topic. So, I would try and go tops 5 minutes, but me as a user of this software, if you I don't know how much it can do. Maybe it can do a lot of stuff. If you can show what it can do in 2 minutes and then give 30 seconds to talk about the implications of what the benefits are, the shorter the better. So I would really keep it. And if you want to really go in depth, that's what the later thing would be. So I would really try and boil it down to what can you do on there and why is that important, and just really short.
Yeah. Quick introduction. Okay. We have John Mueller. Looks like you had your hand up first.
So I like where this is going. What's going to be the outcome after the presentation to the select board? That is, are we going to make public, are we going to give them the link to the interactive map, and are we going to give them a copy of the PowerPoint presentation? At the end of the meeting, what do we leave them with? And is the general public going to have those same tools? Are they going to have access to those tools?
So I'll just weigh in for a moment. This is my thought about this is the select board, the Friday before meeting, they have their packet put together. So I would talk to the select board chair and our town manager to get that information to them. Our presentation that Sarah put together, the PowerPoint, that would also include, and this is my thought, and it's a premature thing to enter it here, but I'll let you know where I'm going with this. Sarah Reitzman has sent us a draft of an introduction. And my thought is that once we get to that point of this conversation, to use that, what Sarah's written, as the introduction, and have that as part of that part of the packet, if you will. Am I explaining myself clear enough? I want to keep this as brief and succinct as possible, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. Sarah wrote a great paragraph. So I just think that would keep it short and sweet, so to speak, and then we'll get into more detail with a live webinar. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but at the end of it, so they'll have that PowerPoint in advance.
Yes.
Okay.
And so won't the public.
So will the public. Okay, so that's the answer. The access will be full to the public.
Yes, I should explain. Yes. So the select board packet is available on the town website. If you go to town meetings, it has all the list of meetings, and it actually has a link to the packet. So the public goes to that link for the packet, opens it up, and can print any part of it, read it all, whatever they want with that packet. That packet is public.
And then the Robert Prine's work, the interactive map, will need to be secured so people can't mess with it. The same would be true of Sarah's PowerPoint. They'd have to be closed down and not editable. Yeah, I think that is anyway, but we'll ask Robert because he has his hand up next about that, just to make sure. Yep. Thank you. Robert, do you want to weigh in on what John just said?
Yeah, no, this package, it's editable, but you need a username and a password. So there is an edit button that I'm not going to be able to remove, but no one's going to be able to do it except for myself. So, thank you. I mean, that's not a challenge. But
John, is that ease your mind on that?
And then the PowerPoint, same with Sarah. She needs to lock it down.
Sarah, is yours locked down too?
No, but if you turn it into a PDF, it won't be editable, and we should be able to still present it that way.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And
I would just throw out, you could also put those on, because a lot of people don't look through the whole packet. Mm-hmm. And it's also not searchable because of the way they put it up. So people can't, they'll have to scroll to find it. You should put those on the website for the committee. And I could help get those up there because I can do admin stuff with the website so we can get that up there. And then also before the webinar, if you guys did want to do one, we could do similar thing that you did for the select board in the weekly report show that we do, and just promote it and say, hey, this is where you can find the map if you want to look at it or watch our presentation, kind of like that press release, but in video form.
Thank you. That would be great, because our original plan was to go to use the town hall and have an open forum there, and that's just not happening. And we don't want to sit on this project. We're pretty complete here. We want to get this out there as soon as possible. So thank you. Robert, you still have your hand up, and I had probably interrupted your reasoning for why it was up. So do you want to take the microphone?
Yeah, I'm going to put my hand back down. I was just going to echo what Bob had said earlier. I think showing the technical aspects of how this map works is simple enough that it can be a minute or two, and then use the tool to go through the data itself. It is certainly an appropriate way to do this. So there's no need for the technical aspect of this to be long.
Great, thank you. Okay, next question is, is there anybody that wants to volunteer to be the face of this for a 2-minute presentation? My thought is we just read Sarah's, we have to go through the draft, obviously, but once that's done, is to read that as an introduction, and then just let a very quick video roll of the project. Is this something that you want me to do, or does somebody want to volunteer? Hi, David.
Hello. No, I was going to say, I have no issue doing it. I just think it would be better coming from a committee member. But if no one wants to do it, I'd be happy to do it. But it might resonate a little better coming from, one of the board volunteers. I can do it.
Okay, so if no one has any objection, I would really rather Dave do it.
Okay.
I am on Zoom. Okay, great.
That's fine with me.
Oh, thank you. Bit of a relief there.
Well, wait a minute. Watch my video that I sent you first, and then you might rethink that.
I have no issue.
I was handsy in that one.
That's okay. I get like that too. I sit on them in Zoom. I can sit on them, and no one can see me sitting on my hands. Okay, so let's now go to Sarah's email from last night.
Before we go there, just so, what is it? Did I miss it? What the time frame we're looking at? What select board we're targeting? Did you say that?
No, we're still in the process of finalizing, but this email that Sarah Reitzman sent us last night, at our last meeting, she offered to do an introduction part of this. So my thought was for us to go over what she sent us last night, her draft, see what everyone's thoughts are on that, and maybe that would be your, sorry, my calendar keeps popping up. The part of your introduction you do with, you and I can talk about what else you want to add. This is a thought I have.
Yeah, I just needed a framework of what are the points we wanted to get across. I can certainly, put my impression on it, but
and we might do that. I just think my idea was to take what Sarah, sent us last night and see how we want to incorporate this in the select board presentation part.
Okay.
We might want to wait until we do a live webinar for this. I don't know. We have to have a conversation, but I want to throw it out there as a possibility.
So why don't you and I, Nancy, we'll talk offline, in the next month or so, this month, and we'll figure, we'll refine it a little more. That's all right. We
will have to do that Monday, Tuesday, whatever your schedule allows next week, because I want to get it to Bob and not Bob Glowacki. So it's not last minute for him for the 13th. I'm sorry, for the 27th.
Oh, so we are doing that.
we're doing it on, if we're doing this, it's going to be for July 27th.
Okay. All right.
I've already received commitment from the chair of the select board that will be on the agenda. I mean, I can always
Okay.
push that if we need to, but that's the goal right now.
Okay.
Okay. So,
So who am I working with? I'm working with Bob to get this done, is just to be clear.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Right, Bob Glowacki?
Yep. I mean, it sounds like you guys are going to put together what you want Dave to say, and you know, I don't know how we're going to organize, go walking through the online map to do some screen grabs of that. You know, if we can do all that stuff, me and my staff, but I don't know anything about the map, so you might want to, you know, tell us what you want to show, or if other committee members want to work with me on just that part, or you know. That's why I would, as a committee, try and make an outline for what you want that video to be.
Yes.
That's kind of what I was looking for, a framework outline, you know, so then I can take that, run with it, and make sure we get all the points in there.
And that's what we're working toward right now.
All
Okay.
right.
So Sarah's email that was sent last night with the draft, has everyone had a chance to look at it? Did everyone receive it? Okay, I'm gonna take that as a yes, everyone's received it.
Yes.
Sarah, thank you so much for doing this. I did have a question. I love the write-up. I absolutely love what you wrote. I do have a question about the photos that you chose. So on the first one, I know that gray apartment building, it's right next to our fire department. It's on the corner of Court Street and South Street. The next one, there's a white building house. I am not sure where that is. It looks to me like it might be on the corner of Grove and Pine, but I'm not sure. I don't recognize it. So I don't know, John, if you recognize that one. But the third one in particular, and this is just feedback. This is part of your personal blog, so I'm not gonna ask you anything about that. But there's a quote from John Mueller. I love that. Quotes from John and from our town planner. Love, love, love them. That house, I think John's in his quote is referring to Front Street, but I think that house is near our library on Chestnut.
Yeah, so that yellow house, I'm looking in the folder, that yellow house is on Chestnut and the first white one is on Auburn. So I am not married to these photos at all. I just happen to have a folder on my computer titled Exeter Pictures, and there are 8 pictures in it, and I just chose my favorite 3. So I'm totally happy to swap those out with different pictures.
That white house is on Auburn Street? So it's on the corner of Auburn and Prospect or something then, right? I don't know. I'll have to go look now.
I'm just trusting the file names.
Okay. You know, it's because we had, for the public who is listening, we had, I don't know, John, how many pictures did you take? 100?
150.
And we narrowed it down to 16 properties, right? 15 or 16 properties. So I can't remember all your pictures.
Since I referenced Front Street in my comments, maybe it would be better if that corresponding picture was of Front Street.
Yeah, and that's why I just wanted Sarah to know that, just as an out of the way.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. John, will you send me a Front Street picture? I can't find all of them. I can only find those 8.
I'm on that web. I'm on my computer right now, and I'm struggling to find it. I will find something, and I'll send it to you. Because it's a master file, and rather than waste everybody's time, I will find a couple and send them to you.
Thank you, John. Okay, so Sarah, would you like to read your introduction for us?
Oh, sure.
Not like putting you on the spot here. I've got it in front of me if you'd rather I do, but you're the author. I'd rather you read it.
Oh, no, that's fine. I'll read it. So I wrote, a product of Exeter's Housing Advisory Committee, a group formed by Exeter's Select Board in 2015 and charged with the task of advising the Select Board on available housing and potential future housing needs for the town of Exeter. This story map highlights a small sample of multifamily housing in Exeter. The map tells the story through pictures and mapping of the various looks of multifamily housing that already exist in Exeter. The project was inspired by Exeter's collection of multifamily housing that blends seamlessly into the aesthetic fabric of the community. In addition to showing viewers a sample of Exeter's multifamily housing, the story map offers a bit of information about the property. While the story map includes only a small sample of Exeter's multifamily housing, it is consistent with a larger pattern of former single-family residences in Exeter that have been converted into smaller apartment or condo units over the course of the town's history. The story map demonstrates the beauty of Exeter's diverse housing stock and how this diversity has contributed to Exeter's resiliency. The story map was put together by Robert Prine at the Rockingham Planning Commission.
Very well stated. So we need to make sure that you are also in there as the part of this, you and John, with the photos and stuff. If we could tweak that to add about John and his photos and you as an important part of this. You know, you're writing this, you put together our PowerPoint. So I would ask that you include something about the two of you.
I can do that.
If you would, thank you. Okay. So, thoughts? Oh, John has his hand raised. I love this hand raise option. John?
So I just looked at the master file of photos, and what I propose is let's ditch Front Street and say High Street, because it just so happens that the pictures from Front Street ain't so good. And the pictures from High Street tell better story. Reasonable?
Except it's not High Street, but yes. She said
No. I'm going to send all new pictures. I'm going to send Sarah High Street pictures.
Oh, got it.
Because they're better. They tell a story better than the Front Street, because the Front Street pictures were a cloudy day and blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Sarah, are you okay with that?
Yep.
Great. Thank you. Teamwork. I love this group. Okay, so thoughts on Sarah's introduction, and if no one has any critiques or thoughts about that, then that's, I think, going to give Dave something to start with. Dave, does that sound like a good plan of action?
Yeah, I mean, we're limiting it to 5 minutes, I heard, so.
Or less.
So I should be able to do that with that and embellish a little bit and quote John and go from there. So I think we'll be fine.
See, oh my gosh, this is so, I like how this is coming together. Okay, does Robert has his hand up.
All right. So I was just raising my hand to say that I've already thrown Sarah's beautiful introduction into the story map with the one edit, which I think she caught in her reading of changing show to showing. But so it's already in the story map as well, just as a heads up.
And the word "that" is after showing, right? Showing or showing viewers.
Right.
Okay. That doesn't have to be there. Got it.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
While you're here, Robert, would you be available to Bob Glowacki of Exeter TV if he has any questions
Absolutely.
when it comes time to putting this together? Thank you.
Yeah, I was trying to peel out his email address to send him the link and hook up with him while we were speaking. So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, does anyone else have any thoughts on this? And great. So we have part one, I think, pretty much pulled together. The game plan as I know it or understand it right now is that Dave Sharples and I will find some time next week, early next week, hopefully, to have a conversation on the phone, put a game plan into place, and then go from there. And if everyone wants, I can do a memo and email it to everyone so you know the steps that are being taken, because we won't have our meeting between now and then, July 27th. So I'll be happy to keep you all updated. So any comments about that? None. Okay. So the next thing is doing a live webinar. Is everyone interested in that being our step 2 to our presentation of getting this out to the citizens of the residents of Exeter?
Yeah, love it.
Thank you, Lindsay. Anyone else have any thoughts? Yes, no's? Okay. So
my only thought on the webinar, if you don't mind me jumping in, is think about scheduling it when there's no government meeting that night. That way it's easier for my staff to make sure that, we have people, because we'll run the webinar for you guys, but I like the technical side of things. But if there's a government meeting, we won't be able to do, more than one at the same time.
absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out. So this is my thought for the webinar, the live webinar part of this, is that we discuss that. I just want to focus on the first part with our town planner and Exeter TV to get that done. So if no one has any objections, we can discuss how to go about the live webinar at our next meeting, because we know that everything as far as COVID-19 is still fluid. So we might be in a different situation by then anyway. So is everyone okay with putting the live webinar part of this conversation, tabling it for right now, and then bringing that up at our August meeting?
Great idea.
Thank you, John. I don't have my phone, so I don't have my calendar. Okay, great. So we are making progress here today, and it's incredible. So are we okay with moving on to the next agenda item? Does everyone have any questions or any further input on our next step to get this presentation out to the select board and just generally to the public? Great. So the next item on our agenda is talking about our report. We touched a little bit on this at our last meeting. The report, excuse me, I should be more specific. Our June 12th, 2017 report to the select board. That's available on the town website for anyone interested in reviewing that. The town manager, and I believe our town planner brought this up 2 meetings ago, that it's time to review. That's part of our report, was to review where we're at the 3-year mark, which is now. COVID-19, of course, is happening, and our project being completed is happening. So I don't want anyone to think that we're forgetting that part of what we need to do. But I want to address that at either our August or September meeting further. Does anyone have any thoughts about that? Anybody? No raised hands yet? Okay, so I'm going to put that. Oh, hello, Dave. Where are you? Oh, Pete.
Sorry.
Pete has his hand raised.
When we did this 3 years ago, did we make any commitment in it? And I have to admit, I didn't go back and read it, to have a 3-year review?
We did.
We did.
Yes.
So that what we're doing then is following up on that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. David?
Yeah, and the way I see it, it's like I treat it like any other study, master plan, what have you. And what I was planning on doing, so, not to be duplicative, if anyone has any other information or what I was planning on doing is, I think reports like that are all about what did you say needed to be done, and what did you do? So I was going to just take all the recommendations, list them all out, see what we've worked on, what may have not gotten to, and then go from there to possibly update the report based on that information. I think we've done great in the last few years, a couple of significant things. And we have to remember 3 years does sound like a lot, but as I tell volunteer boards, it's like we've met for probably 50 hours. So less than a week and a half.
Right.
So you gotta, and then also this committee has done a lot of work outside of the meetings, but there's not a lot of time to get our work done. And I think you'll find when I do that analysis, we've moved toward our goals. We've ticked off a few of the recommendations in the report. So I'll highlight that in a document. I'll be prepared for that on August 14th. I'll bring you that. I do that routinely with a lot of reports. I'd be happy to do it for this one.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And yes, if there's one thing I've learned being a volunteer in committees and working with our local town government, and it's literally you have to have patience in doing this. This area of volunteerism, don't we? So yes, thank you, David. I appreciate it. Anyone else have anything to add or questions on that? Anybody have anything else for under other or old business or new business that I'm unaware of? Oh, Mr. Cameron, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to ask David. In our review of the master plan, do we have any section which specifically addresses this committee? I can't remember.
I mean, I'd have to pull it to see if Housing Advisory Committee is actually mentioned in there. But it definitely has some goals regarding housing stock, affordability of housing choice, and so forth.
So that therefore we need to kind of look at that also.
And I believe it does have, correct me if I'm wrong, I got to grab it. I believe it does have a specific says that it references the report. But that might be in the narrative.
I can hear you in the bedroom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so is there anything else anybody has questions, anything they want to add? Okay, so I'm going to say thank you again to Sarah Reitzman, who did an amazing job, and Robert from Rockingham Planning Commission. Sorry, Robert, I don't want to prime. Is it prime? I don't know. I keep doing that too.
No problem.
My apologies. I am terrible when it comes to pronunciation sometimes. And I want to again congratulate the town planner for accepting this award on behalf of the town. Something we all should be very proud of, I think, in my opinion. So the next plan of action is going to be for me to reach out to Mr. Sharples, make an appointment to talk over the logistics of our next step for our project, our multi-unit map project, and go from there. And I will send a memo to people, to this committee, so that they know the steps that are being taken. And is everyone fine with that? Last chance. Okay.
Good.
All right. So I am going to, I've offered 2-3 options here for any last minute conversations or additions. And since we all seem to be done and it's Friday at 9:20, is everyone okay with concluding our meeting? Okay. Yes. So before I do, August 14th, is that right, David? I don't have my calendar in front of me. Is our next meeting.
Right? Yeah, that's what I think we've said.
Sorry.
Also,
the only calendar I have in front of me is one that's for 1 month only. I have to change the tiles, so
yeah,
that's not helpful.
Right? Yeah, that's the second Friday of the month.
Great.
So,
all right.
I do have a question then, since we are going to be presenting at the 27th. What's the quick way for us to observe that presentation?
I will answer some of this, and then Bob Glowacki, if you want to weigh in on anything I might miss. So the options to, so we as a committee are not going to be presenting this. We're letting Dave Sharples do it, right? But if you, again, I want to check with the select board chair on this, because I didn't ask him about this part of it because we really hadn't reached our game plan. So you could enter the select board meetings as the public comment, but if it's on the agenda, you'd have to wait until that part of the agenda comes up, right? So,
Yes.
yeah. So, John, I don't.
Yeah, so John, if you want to watch it, it'll be a part of the select board meeting. So there's a few different ways you can watch. You can either go to the minutes and agendas page, find the agenda for that select board meeting, and you'll find the Zoom info, and you can join as an attendee and just watch. You can also watch on Facebook or YouTube if you search Exeter TV, and Channel 22 in Exeter. So all those different ways you can watch.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
My goal, you'll probably watch it before the select board meeting, because my goal would be to get together with Bob. I already sent you a Google invite, Nancy, for Tuesday at 1, because I got CIP on Monday and Tuesday morning, but hopefully we can do that at Tuesday. And then my goal is to get together with Bob, do a draft video, have him edit it, and then send it out hopefully during the week of the 20th, the week before the select board, so all of you can view it and maybe, suggest, and we can make any changes or additions we need to. So that's what I was planning to do as well.
Great. I think that's great. Thank you. And I will respond to your invite when I can reach my phone. Okay. So I'm serious now. It's 9:23, and we're going